Some of the world's railways are struggling, and some are underwater.
Der kann doch hier mal durchfahren.
That's why Germany's national rail operator is asking for more than €150 billion from the government. And U.S. train operators are taking advantage of €59 billion in funding earmarked by the Biden administration. Train infrastructure in both countries is in serious need of investment. Maintenance is costly, but how much money is left for future-focused technology? In the U.S., the current rail network looks like this. And this is what it'll look like in the future after new tracks are built, including the nation's first high-speed rail lines. That's thanks to the €59 billion in funding earmarked for rail infrastructure projects by the Biden administration. Under President Trump, cuts have already been made to railway projects, despite the fact that construction is very much underway. Some of the funding will be put towards needed upgrades.
You've got parts of the rail system that are 70, 80 years old and more.
Paul Janowski is a professor emeritus of civil engineering who's worked with the UN and World Bank on rail infrastructure.
Just maintenance and operation is a huge bill. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar effort by train companies each year just to make sure that the rolling stock is kept up to date.
And now, experts say developers will need to ensure the rail systems are future-proof, built to withstand the impact of extreme weather events caused by climate change. Urban areas in places where high temperatures are typical, heat is already disrupting commuters.
Auckland Transport and Kiwi Rail issued a statement today saying that a tiny section of the tracks got too hot today.
Public transit has seen its fair share of issues this summer, especially here in Austin.
In parts of Texas, temperatures are increasingly hitting up to 40 degrees Celsius during the summer. This kind of heat is absorbed by the steel rails, forcing them to expand. The heat stress on the rails and track bed can cause the tracks to bend out of shape in a split second. Any train traveling down a buckled path is destined to derail. Because train operators in Texas spotted the high risk of this happening to their tracks, commuters were provided with bus transport until it was safe to ride the rails again. Track buckling incidents are among the costliest the rail industry deals with today, with damage costing millions per derailment. In the U.S., there are more than 1,000 train derailments a year, a number that could rise if climate adaptation strategies aren't implemented. And over in France, where, like in the rest of Western Europe, the average temperature has been rising faster than the rest of the world, train operators are contending with the same problem. In 2022, they were forced to limit speeds nearly 300 times because of a high risk of buckling from heat. Limiting speeds helps reduce heat stress and risk, but it comes at a price. 300 disruptions added up to 50,000 minutes of lost time, according to the German Center for Rail Traffic Research, and amounts to a socioeconomic cost of around €10 million. But what about rail in Germany? The German government's investment in Deutsche Bahn provides the company much relief. In 2023, it recorded a loss of €2.7 billion. Deutsche Bahn has attributed some of its losses to poor infrastructure and decreased long-distance ridership. It's an expensive problem. Last year, the company told DPA news agency it had to pay customers nearly €200 million in compensation for delays and train cancellations. Deutsche Bahn says it's using the government investment for infrastructure maintenance and modernization. €150 billion can help the company pay off its debts and make improvements, and provide funding for climate adaptation initiatives, like experiments to paint rails white, which is what Deutsche Bahn thought might help reduce rail temperature and lower risk of heat stress when it painted a kilometer-long stretch of high-speed line. Because extreme heat, which Germany is experiencing more of, is what causes this to happen. Deutsche Bahn says the experiment ultimately didn't work. The drop in surface temperature wasn't enough to justify the effort and cost involved. It's the same conclusion that the Austrian and Swiss national rail operators came to. Deutsche Bahn wasn't available for an interview, but a spokesperson said that the company is planning alternative climate protection measures, like intensified vegetation management along its routes, additional protection for control and safety technology, and heat-resistant technology on vehicles. So what options do train operators have to protect rail routes against severe weather events? One company believes it has a solution.
We listen to what the railway is doing.
Daniel Pike works for Sensonic and told us he actually got his start in the industry producing rails for Deutsche Bahn.
The main thing we do is we turn optical fibers into essentially a long string of microphones.
Through AI modeling, Sensonic technology can help train operators detect a threat to a section of track.
If you get hot water and pour it into a mug and cold water and pour it into the mug, you can tell the difference. That's amazing, but we can. So we try to teach our models what they're listening to.
Identifying things like the likelihood of a landslide or a rock fall. In the UK, their technology is used to detect cable or equipment theft. In India, it's being used to hear when an elephant is approaching. When an anomaly on the track is detected, Sensonic sends an alert to train operators so they can react. But at the moment, Sensonic's acoustic technology isn't being used to detect buckling from heat. Pike says that it could, theoretically, but it would mean having to create a real buckling scenario on a train line in order to gather the needed data.
The railway's huge. It's massive. It's hundreds of kilometres, thousands of kilometres long. So how do we get information from a very difficult to monitor long lengths of things?
And that's not the only issue.
Leave your mobile phone out in very hot temperature, and pretty soon you get that little notice, too hot, it's shutting off, right? The same thing happens with sensors. Even though you can have very high temperature sensors, but the cost gets very expensive. So we have an electronics problem.
Sensonic is headquartered in Austria, which was devastated by extreme flooding last year. Storm Boris dropped 5 times the average September monthly rainfall in the country in less than a week. News outlets were calling it a 1 in a 1,000-year flood. After the floods, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced a €10 billion aid package for member states that had been impacted. But while the floods devastated significant parts of Austria, damage to its capital city, Vienna, was relatively minimal. That's because retention basins and other flood prevention measures had been put in place around the Danube River, which runs through the city. A history of flooding had taught Austrian authorities a valuable lesson. Just months before the flood, the Austrian rail network announced €124 million in funding for flood protection projects. Like the UK's Network Rail, which earmarked €3.2 billion specifically so that it could adapt its rail infrastructure to climate change in the next 5 years. And in the US, where rail is used primarily to transport goods, a reliable network is key to commerce and trade.
Our dependence on rail is not going to go down over the next 20 years. It's only going to keep increasing. And we've got to plan for what the future environment's going to be, because otherwise, all these things that we just assume show up, everything from washers and dryers to automobiles, aren't going to be there because we don't have a system that's working.
So, what can we take from all of this? Train operators and companies are looking for solutions, and that's a good thing because preventative measures are cheaper than post-disaster recovery. But it's an expensive endeavor and hard to scale up, or in this case, along kilometers and kilometers of track. At the moment, it seems to be a budget priority in countries like Germany, but Germany is facing a recession. It's not clear how much politicians will want to continue to spend now on heat-proofing infrastructure for the future. In the US, rail projects have a long road ahead. Rail is one of the most efficient forms of public transportation and freight travel. We'll need it to help us meet carbon reduction goals, but it's being threatened by extreme weather and underinvestment. We want to know about rail infrastructure where you live. Have you been delayed due to extreme weather? Let us know in the comments.